Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, there. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
All
you're
right.
a little congested tonight, huh?
Yeah, I don't know why. I think
Well,
it's the humidity in the air. The air's thicker,
yeah,
and so it gets a little harder to breathe.
yeah. Well, good thing
Don't
we
get don't get old.
check, right?
uh,
Um, we have to say folks probably aren't gonna be here, they're sick. So we'll kick it out the next month if they don't show. There's a slight chance that one might be here. So. Director, sorry, it's gonna be on camera right here.
So, being 6:01 having quorum, we'll start this meeting. Will please stand during the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
the flag of the United States of America and to the
one nation, under God, indivisible.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, introduction of the guests. We start there, work our way around, and please tell us who you are and what you do.
Hello, my name is Montana. I am Peyton's mom, and we are here. We have a phone call for Peyton to receive an award.
Nice, very cool. Jacoby? I'm Andy. I'm here for Marshalls.
award that he's supposed to get them.
Oh, good. What's that?
Did we skip them or?
No, they did theirs.
Oh,
They just did one family unit. Adding items to the agenda, we need to add new business 5.6, and that'll be a memorandum of agreement for classified as absence for grow your own, and it's an MOA with the union. So that's 5.6. And now we'll start with high hope, good to great. Anything else to add to the agenda? Mr. Stone, that's it, right?
I think so.
Okay, good to great, and who's going first? Mr. Rose.
Yeah.
I mean, I can if he doesn't. want to.
I'll say, like, good be great is I've noticed communication from the school and individual teachers towards parents.
I have a good one. Okay, so since the school has started sending out the teacher or the students of the day emails from the teachers, which is amazing, by the way. I've gotten one for each of my kids so far, which is awesome. That was a great addition to our school. I think our kids really appreciate that. I've told both my girls when they've got, however, before I've told them the good news, it's also been a good tool for me as a parent. I'm like, guess what I got today? I got an email from the school today. Do you need to tell me something? What I read. And Charity doesn't fall for it, but Elizabeth falls for it every time. And she's like, okay, Mom, I'll tell you. So now twice, she's told me something that she's done wrong, thinking that it's the principal reaching out to me to tell me. And throwing herself under the bus. And so it's been very good for my parenting situations.
Second and third order consequence, yes.
My good to great is sports tonight. There's a high school girls game, which there hasn't been high school girls basketball for some time. While there's wrestlers up in the balcony practicing and getting ready for their first meet. So it's awesome keeping kids involved.
My good to great is, I have had the chance to work with a lot of different community partners and the ODE and everyone has been so positive about our awesome school, and I get to sing our praises.
And considering how it looks with the U, and I guess I'm sitting in that slot,
Yeah.
my good to great is the basketball game between the alumni and the kids at the school. I got a lot of text messages. I got a lot of nice pictures different people sent me, and thank you for the pictures. But a lot of the kids texted me as well, and it was kind of nice that they remembered who I was. So for me, that was a good to great.
Awesome.
Nice. Mr. Stone.
Mine is bragging about our leadership kids a little bit. Savannah Bateman is our leadership teacher, and if you notice out front, the decorated tree in the center, and then if you walk through the high school hall, it's pretty amazing. Kids really took ownership over their space this last week and decorated for winter break and Christmas, which was really kind of cool. Adding some flair to the spirit of our kids and the community. So thought that was fantastic.
Wow. I'm up already. So I came back to school after Thanksgiving when everybody came back, and I've been in meetings and walking through classrooms. And if you look at this document here in front of you, I'm hearing this language used when teachers are speaking with their colleagues. I'm hearing it being suggested. I'm hearing it as something that's working. So things are moving in the right direction. They're seeing value, and that's my good grade.
So mine as well as the alumni basketball game. The amount of community that turned out, as well as players, and it was a great fundraiser for the high school boys and also cheer as well.
Didn't fundraiser because we didn't know we were getting anything, but the boys were gracious enough to give us some. That was gonna be mine too, but I came up with a different one and our shop kids sold out this weekend, which is super awesome that they were so successful at the craft.
Yeah, it's huge.
Mhm.
So cool.
And Kevin will be contacting me for bow needs in the future.
Yeah. There you go.
Very cool. It doesn't look like we have any teachers here this evening. Is there any community input? Hearing that, we'll go to the high fives. The first student we have up is Marshall Jacoby. Hi, Marshall.
Now, Mr. Wetzel, you, in Ray's absence,
Yes.
you gotta go around there and get a picture with
If we
him.
can get one as soon as we're done, I'll read this one. Let's go back to that.
Okay, all right, there we go.
So Marshall's excitement to learn new things and always doing his very best. Next we have Peyton Wagner. Peyton is a hardworking student who has a great sense of humor. At the Veterans Day ceremony, he gave up his seat and sat on the ground when he saw that I had nowhere to sit. I don't know who wrote this, but I had nowhere to sit. Miss Nikki. And he is a very wonderful young man, and I'm so grateful that he's my student. So thank you guys for coming this evening.
Good job, we're gonna get a picture.
There's some pictures. One first. Want to do both together?
Together's fine, perfect, whatever, that'll work. Move to your left just a little, or to your right just a little bit. There you go. Okay,
Thank you guys for coming out.
good job, guys.
Do we want to read the other ones or hold the
Sure.
other ones for next month?
Yeah, read them for the record, please.
Next, we have Noah Capello, who is very diligent, always gives a helping hand and participates completely in class every day. And we have Colby Christian. I'd like to recognize Colby, who consistently puts forth his best effort each day. He brings incredible energy, expression, enthusiasm to everything he does. His positivity is contagious, and he approaches every task with excitement and genuine eagerness to learn. He is not only hardworking, but he's incredibly enthusiastic and overly excited in the most joyful and motivating way. This year, he has accomplished great tasks at school, and his dedication and spirit of attitude make him truly stand out. Then we have Trip Cole. He is one of the most honest students I've ever met. He is very hardworking, no matter his assignment, and will give an honest assessment of his behavior and effort. You can imagine that. And then we have Torin Anderson.
Taria.
Taria Anderson. Taria is a hardworking student who always tries to do her best work. She participates in class discussions, always willing to try something new. Taria is a role model for other students, and she is a good friend to everyone. She is happy and eager to be at school every day. And finally, Nathan Cox. Nathan has worked with me to submit his application to work as a wildland firefighter for the U.S. Forest Service this coming summer. And all the respect to Nathan for thinking about his future. So those are our high five certificates for the month.
Good job.
With that, we're getting in the business part of the meeting. You're more than welcome to stay, but if you want to leave, you won't hold the gates to.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, congratulations, buddy.
So moving to consent motions, there's the approval of the minutes and the certified report, which I don't believe we have. Right. Certified people. And then, I know we got new minutes. Was there just corrections last one, or did we add
Yeah,
substance?
Ray sent corrections.
Okay, so no substance changes, just corrected.
No, yeah, it was just he was present.
Perfect. So is there a motion to accept 2.1? And there's nothing for 2.2.
My motion to approve the minutes.
Second. A motion and a second for the minutes. Any questions or debates? And we'll start with Mr. Rose.
Yeah.
Ms. Williams.
Mhm.
Mr. Williams.
Yes,
I also vote yes. And reports of communication superintendent report. Mr. Neal.
Have a pretty good report tonight that's fairly long. I'm gonna start with some mundane things, just kind of keeping you in the loop on some things. We have Keith, our head maintenance man, he's at asbestos training this week in Portland. So once he gets that certification, we won't have to hire that out. Greg made mention to the classroom operating procedures, standard operating procedures. There's some discussion that him and I have both had, K-12, trying to create consistency between classrooms. And so it's been interesting having those conversations with our staff. We took this a step further in elementary. and applied to some standard operating procedures when teaching literacy. And created some standardized ways that we do it in every grade. Every grade. So we have the Stronger Connections Grant on-site visit that's coming up February 2nd through the 6th. For a check-in after 2 years of having the grant. That's coming up. Wanted to put that out there. Our generators are completed and installed. We have a diesel generator that runs the NPR, and we have a propane generator. We'll run the backup pump system so that if we lose power, we have water and we have power in the NPR. At least we can have bathrooms and fix lunch and breakfast and those kinds of things if we lose power.
How'd the test go?
What's that?
How'd the test go?
Went great. So, yep, went great. So we will leave them on to where they kick on 2 times a month just to keep them generated, kind of like the one that you have at your house. And then we'll do that for a few months, and then we'll probably kick it back to where they kick on once every month. So we're building covers for them, one off of the pump building, and then one that will be standalone that's over by the dumpsters. Our book fair finished up, and we grossed about $2,000 for our elementary book fair, and made a few bucks there for fundraising for the elementary. And we have decided that we probably will not have one in the spring. The elementary staff's still talking about it, but it is a good thing, but it's a huge distraction too. And so, and we've fundraised quite a bit of money in the last year and a half using book fair. So they're thinking maybe we might pull back on that. The prospect props emails that have been going out to parents, Natalie alluded to, has been huge. I have probably talked to 30 parents that are gracious enough to say, hey, that's the coolest thing you guys have done. Because it's constant communication of the things that their kids are doing that they're not privy to a lot of times. Like I didn't know that, my kid was generous and opened the door and held the door open for, somebody walking through the door, or is working really hard in a subject that they don't like. And the teachers recognizing it and communicating it on the daily or the weekly. And so that's really been kind of cool to see where that has gone. Our last punch walk with ZCS has been closed out. So the seismic project has been completed and it's done. The only thing that kind of links us to ZCS now after the fact is there's a 1-year warranty to it. So we'll do another punch walk in August sometime to kind of walk around and make sure that the work that they did is generated effectiveness past the, getting to the end of the warranty of the 1-year warranty. So that's been a project. I just give a shout out to Vitus Construction publicly and to Stephen Davidson and the ZCS crew for completing that project for us. So there was heartache and hurdles and everything that goes with it, but it really turned out to be pretty nice in the end. The fire contract, storage contract, they have completed their reimbursement. And we got an email from Bob Jones that stated that they would send the final checks out this week or next week to complete the contract for the doors. And so next we're, obviously we need to continue to have conversations about the bus barn and what we're going to do. We have those doors, but if the building is, if we do something with the building, then of course we'll have to make a shift there. So there will be more conversations there. Wanted to share a little bit about three kind of large things. We had a high school success review with ODE on the 4th, and Regina might talk about that in her report, but I just wanted to mention that Regina and Janet and I tackled that, and I think it turned out well. We're gonna get a report in a couple of weeks. Felt like we were defending a thesis about the things that we do with high school success money around here, and they inquired about a lot of different things, and one of the things walking away from that meeting that I really felt I felt good about is that we had answers to their questions. There wasn't really a whole lot of gotchas. I think the programming that we're doing, the things that we're spending money on, there's real value to. And I think we could speak to that, and I think they heard that, and they didn't, I felt like when they walked away that they were satisfied with what we shared with them that we were doing with high school success money. There's been some conversation around assistant coach justification and what the threshold is. I think for the idea of retaining the right to hire as a superintendent, sharing with the board that, pinching our pennies, yes, but two, making sure that we have equity with what we do in regards to coaching, with whether or not a program gets a second coach or a third coach or has one coach. And I think there's a pitfall that's linked to that. People tend to want to gravitate towards, well, numbers, what are your numbers in your program? And there's really three things that really justify coaches, in my opinion. Number one is safety. Number two is the number of teams. And number three is supervision. So safety and supervision kind of go hand in hand. So for instance, equity is an interesting concept around athletics when it comes to coaching, because not every sport is the same. Football is a huge safety sport. And so you have to have position coaches and their safety concerns with things that go with football, which is different than, say, boys basketball or girls basketball, which is different than wrestling or volleyball or even track and field. And so when you think about track and field, there's I don't know how many events, 14 events or whatever in track and field. It's really hard if you have 12 or 13 kids that are out participating in maybe 12 or 13 or 14 different events, only having one coach, because you only have a certain amount of time blocked out, and it's more difficult there. So there has to be some justification on adding coaches based on numbers of events, not numbers of kids per se. As in basketball, one coach can coach a team of 10 kids, a team of 12 kids. And so what we've done is we've just had our eyes open and said, okay, look, if we have 10 students that are, playing basketball, that really only justifies having a head coach. And the threshold of basketball and volleyball or baseball and softball would be, hey, do we have two teams? If we have two teams, of course, that's a different deal. And of course, our head coaches can always get volunteer help if they want to add to it. But so that's kind of the justification of thresholds involved here. Our numbers in boys basketball are low, our numbers in girls basketball are low, and that's why we have one coach. And we just decided to pull back with assistance. It was a way for us to save some dollars out of the general fund, and at the same token, make sure that our kids are served well, or to the best of our ability. There was a time here where there were 5 kids or 6 kids in a sport, and we had 2 coaches. And I just, as a superintendent, I don't think that's being good stewards of our money and good stewards of the resources that we have. And so that combined with the idea that, hey, down the line, we're looking at rollover dollars and trying to protect what we have from the standpoint that there is going to be a downturn in the state budget for our basic school support. And so wherever we can tighten our belt a little bit, but still be diligent in meeting the needs of kids, and that's kind of the lens that I'm looking through as your superintendent. And then the last thing I wanted to share with you, and you probably saw a long email today about the state report card, and the at a glance, report that's public. And kind of want to just share a little bit about that. Like I said in the email, once you put systems in place and systems continue to evolve over time, kids, start to come through the system, that improvements happen. A lot of people look at a report card and go, well, what the heck is going on there in Prospect? Because there's a lot of negative red stuff that's on the report. And rightfully so, based on what they measure. And there's some flaws in the system. A couple of glaring flaws in the system, in my opinion, is that parents can opt their kids out of the test. That's a huge flaw in the system, because we are only measuring a percentage of our students and not all of our students. And that the students that opt out tend to be the students that probably would do better on the state assessments versus the students that don't, because their parents are engaged in the process, and that's why they opt out. That's one thing. The second thing is that it's a snapshot. It's a high stakes test that's not based on any type of reciprocity with any other state. It's based on the Oregon State standards, yes, but it's a high stakes test at every grade level that gives you one snapshot of what a student can illustrate that they know. And we know that when we deal with kids, one-time snapshots don't always paint the whole picture. And so, yes, there are things in life that require us to overcome, like getting a driver's license, where you have to go in and if you fail, you do it again. Students don't have the opportunity to do that with a high stakes test like the state assessment. So if you probably have been listening to the news, you've probably heard about Senate Bill 141. And Senate Bill 141 is that the state is saying, look, we rank like 46th or 47th out of 50 states. We're giving money to the school districts that take up, 35 to 38%, or maybe it's bigger than that. I'm not sure, of the state coffers financially during every biennium. And the result is what are we spending money on if we're not seeing better results? And it's because of this high stakes test that politically has driven the narrative to say this is what we hang our hat on. And unfortunately, that one-time snapshot test is not compared to anything in any other state. It's different than Montana, or it's different than Texas, it's different than Maine. And so in regards to rigor, how do we evaluate apples to apples and say, oh, well, by the way, Oregon ranks 44th or 46th or 47th out of 50, when we don't have a tool that measures it equitably from state to state. So there's been all kinds of task force that have been involved in this process to create an accountability system that defines that is using multiple measures. And there's going to be some local assessment, there's going to be a state assessment, there's going to be several things that are different than what we're being ranked on right now to try to justify finances. And the state, and you've heard me talk about it in the process of talking about comprehensive planning, we have taken all of the documents that we have, everything from accreditation to high school success to SIA dollars to early literacy dollars, and put them all in a portal and say, okay, now let's look at our goals and make sure that we've got commonality of goals so that all of our arrows are pointed in the same direction. And now we've doubled down on that with a plan, with our comprehensive plan, by taking those things out of that system and plugging it into a comprehensive plan that creates a pathway for our school district to build on, regardless of whether I leave or Josh leaves or Greg leaves or anybody leaves here in the district. And so, so that's really the heart and soul of moving the compass in the right direction, is trying to create these things going in the right direction with all of our systems. And we've really done that the last 3 years. And proof of that is this. When we look at the state's longitudinal growth targets that the state has helped develop and put them in place for us in every grade level, whether it was attendance or whether it was academic, we've either met or exceeded every one of those targets. And does that mean we're there? No. We still have a lot of work to do. We're not anywhere near where we need to be, but we're heading in the right direction. And unfortunately, those things like longitudinal growth targets do not show up on the state report card. The high stakes test does. Our attendance does, which our attendance is abysmal. But last month you heard Regina talk about the first quarter's attendance compared to last year's attendance, and we were making some gains in some areas around attendance. And there's a systemic conversation that will continue to happen there around engagement with programming and stuff, and engaging our community to get kids here on time. And quite frankly, part of it is also with attendance is that we're a split community. We have kids that come on a bus, and if they miss a bus, they don't come. Their parents don't drive them to school. I mean, that's reality. And second chance busing and the money behind it and everything else, we just haven't said that's a priority because of the financing end of it. So there'll be more on this. We'll talk some more about it, but I just kind of wanted to give you a heads up. There are some things to celebrate on there. I mean, our freshmen on track, over 95%. Last year, I believe, I thought it was 90%. It was 85% last year for the 22-23 school year. The things that we're doing with tracking of kids, we've gotten rid of spending money on credit retrieval, on staffing, because we don't need it, because of our summer school program and what we've done with credit retrieval of basically keeping kids on track to graduate within their own classrooms, and creating space where if a student is struggling, where we have an MTSS response that we can work towards interventions for students that are struggling. So there's a lot there to unwrap, but felt like it was worthy of having a conversation with you, so you kind of knew where our finger is, and the push button is that we're working on. And I would tell you, it hinges a lot on what we're doing with the comprehensive plan. It really does. And I'm super stoked about that work. I'm super stoked of the things that we have done, and eventually it's going to get to that report card. But there has to be some changes that are outside of our control by evaluating schools using multiple measures, and that's what Senate Bill 141 will do. So that's all I got, Mr. Chairman.
Awesome. Mr. Brian, secondary report.
You covered it. Yeah, if you guys don't, before you leave, get a chance to look down that hallway tonight. It's one thing I wanted to point out. We pretty much covered some of this in our high fives and some of the other things. Like props, where the notes and the calls and the messages are going home. The other part is we're getting really good at making targeted phone calls home, better in the secondary. So much better that we're starting to get a lot more two-way communication now. So one example, without naming names, is there's a particular student who got several phone calls from different folks in the high school hallway this week. And this afternoon, that parent reached out to me and said, "Hey, I've been hearing a lot of things, and I got good notes, and I got phone calls about attendance and things like that. I want to come in and sit down, and I need some help figuring out how to get my kid to school and some things like that." So those positive messages are really building a bridge for us, and that's something that's awesome. Another thing one thing I've noticed about this month, it's not about hanging on until break. Haven't heard a lot of that. I've heard a lot of, I'm ready for this, I'm ready for that. When I come back, we're gonna do this. I'm 3 weeks ahead on this. So there's a lot of that. So a lot of reflecting on classroom expectations and routines. There's a lot of questions about when I come back, how do I do this? That rebuilding those family partnerships around behavior and missing work. And then just kind of protecting the calm that we have in there right now. And those lights and chains really help too. With just revisiting the non-negotiables from the last meeting, we initiated that one positive contact home each day, and many of you have spoken to that already. That result is more two-way communication, more responses, student pride, and staff are focused on what's good. So next up is that every student is seen and greeted at the door as they come in and then come back. We've got some folks already practicing that right now, but that'll be kind of movement and motion up and down the hallway and making sure that we see every student. And we'll have those other ones previous. So that's mine. Cool.
That's a record.
I think it's my turn to be long-winded.
3.3.
All right, since Day mentioned the high school success report, I agree that meeting went really well. The thing I liked was they set us up by saying that if we have follow-up questions, we'll ask them in the meeting. And they had almost no follow-up questions, the ones who we gave them. And I just want to give a shout out because Janet Yakapats was a rock star in that meeting, and she knows our programs inside and out and can offer data and support to everything we're doing. That was my only thing to add to that. I have had several projects I've been working on, some of them for months, that all came together and culminate this week. Where I like deadline after deadline after deadline, and then I'm just kind of powering through it. Didn't help being sick the week before Thanksgiving. So I just want to give you updates on all of those. The Gear Up Rural Summit grant, that Day had started. I am happy to say that we have partnerships with local nurseries to get the plants on site by Friday. We have an order placed sometimes on pieces. We have a community partner who's going to deliver the those grant that we need. Like, we worked everything to make sure we made it by the deadline, and plans to preserve everything, including the living parts. That Clayton was very gracious, and I'm taking her classroom over break. And then I'm taking over her greenhouse after that, and excited to see this come together so that the students have all the supplies they need when the weather improves and can jump on that. So it's fantastic. So I'm excited. Oh, and it was really neat because it brought together a lot of people who don't necessarily work together. So meeting with Christy and Keith and and Elsa and I to put the project together and seeing the ideas developed. The farm to school grant, I submitted the application yesterday. So worked with Prospect Provisions back and forth for quite a bit. So our application, should we receive the grant, will pay for monthly tasting and activity boxes for local produce, local farms up here in Prospect, to get healthy food in front of kids and trying new things. Tying that to quarterly community events with kind of a farmers market feel to it, or training classes. Here's what your kids are doing in school. Here's how you can build on it at home. Really hopeful that that comes together. I think we have a solid grant proposal. Just gotta wait and see. National Honor Society has been launched. The seniors have received their invitations to join. All three have accepted, and we wanted to get the seniors right away so they would have scholarship opportunity. 2 of the 3 made the deadline to apply for scholarship opportunity. We're going to get the rest of the invitations out to the other grades, the kids who qualify. Right now, there aren't any juniors that have the GPA to qualify. but we have a large group of sophomores who do. So we're excited to see where that's headed. Tentatively, the induction ceremony is scheduled for March and it's just kind of neat to see that rigor growth. I have been working closely with ODE's emergency management division to redo or to revise our emergency operations plan. That is wrapping up this Friday. She is coming down on Thursday to walk the campus with me and make any adjustments with her wisdom and experience. And then she's leading the staff with a stop the bleed training. And she was pretty impressed that when she said it's too many people for one trainer, that I was able to pull together myself, Fawn, and our Army recruiter, and we all got trained and we'll be supporting her on Friday. Yeah, and she thought bringing in community people would be pretty big for our area. I told you I had a lot of projects coming to a finish. The ESD reached out to us and offered us a free family engagement survey. It's a project through Scholastic. So I met with them last week. We did a walk through a campus. They don't go into any classrooms. They want to know, what would a family see? How's our signage? How welcoming are we? Are there things we're excited about? And they were really impressed with Christmas tree. It looks really festive. That follows up with some surveys and kind of some documentation, and then they give us a report that says, you've got this detail. Now this is your next step. So that's going to be really neat to again continue that two-way conversation. And then my last thing was Natalie asked me to follow up with Student Success Agency on usage. And so we've requested the report, but they haven't gotten it to us yet. So I'll try to have that for you guys next month.
Cool.
Any questions on all that? Went through it pretty fast.
I don't.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
Financial.
November 30th financial, so general fund balance, you're looking a little over 3 million. This is kind of the peak you'll see down below. Local and intermediate revenues with property taxes close to 600,000. This is one time a year this hits. From here, it will gradually decrease as we get to the end of the fiscal year, June 30th. As of right now, with taxes, we're about 89% collected. It's just over 70,000 outstanding.
What do we average get? We don't ever get 100% of it, right?
No,
Yeah.
no, you always have prior year you're collecting on.
Got
And that are outstanding. We're down a couple percent to where we were last year. I had another small tax turner over come in December, but it's really winding down. It was like $8,000. So until the next third installment, February and May, we're not going to see much. But pretty much on target where, not a lot of difference with 1 to 2% on that balance. As far as expenditures, no increase. November hits with a lot of expenditures. If you go down to our purchase services, which is our 300 object codes, if you're looking through the payables listing, at 125,000 there. October was a large month with athletics. Home to school was a large month. First student invoice was significant. Other than that, we also had our sped costs, which are over our allocation that bill quarterly. That was 20,000, and then substitute billing start, and those are only going to increase. September was at 4,000, and that'll be the lowest month we see. Other than that, wrapping up, we'll be working on projections, our view the first week of January to start estimate building for 26-27. At this point, enrollment is still, we're watching closely. Luckily, we have the buffer for this year because it's the highest ADM of the last 2 years. Going into 26-27, we're not going to have that buffer. So looking really conservative of, not wanting to overbase money when we don't have kids in seats. So, next month also, we'll start with budget calendar. We get off the budget, committee policy tonight. We have 2 openings, so one of those will be filled by an advisory member. And then we'll be ready to advertise for the second one. We'll present that in January. Lots of things coming, payroll wise, through BOLI, we have to give disclosures, have itemized pay statements. So I'm working on the templates for all of that. Also with the big beautiful bill and overtime, I have been in multiple meetings of what that means, how all of the setup envisions and what that looks like. Luckily, we are not near as complex as Central Six, and our overtime runs pretty straight overtime to where a lot of CBAs deviate from what the bill actually defines as overtime. So people are basically having to go back and look and evaluate each position because depending what's in their CBA, you know, of how overtime is paid. Sometimes it's over 8 if it's a bus driver, if it's over 10. Did that week actually meet hours under federal? And then, so all of that will basically be manually calculated and then added into the W-2s for this year. And then, still some clarifications waiting as far as things for next year and set up within visions. Other than that, the only thing I had, the cafeteria received their first food inspection today. For the year, they're required to have 2 and they received 100% with no violation.
Question on the expenditures. You mentioned SPED quarterly. What's that?
So our services that we contract through ESD, so, the psychologist, our speech, autism services.
Okay.
So with that cost, we have a little over, I think it's right around 92,000 that's allocated. And our cost is close to 80,000 above that, so we get billed quarterly. So
So it's not
For
just
the
standard
SPED
SPED services, it's all the extra add-ons that we have.
it is the count towards our maintenance of effort as
Gotcha.
contracted services, but we pay out.
And because of our sped percentage being higher than what the state reimburses, that's why there's additional money there too. That's part of it too, correct? Isn't that part of that? So if we're at 14%, or is that not? It's not contributed, it's just the ESD piece.
It's just the ESD's costs for the services, the specialized services that we contract with them.
And that's because it has to be matching. No, that's right. So can you explain the continuing maintenance?
Maintenance of effort.
So-
Maintenance of every.
So maintenance of effort means that you have to maintain and you have to budget general fund dollars. The same, you can't cut sped unless you have a justification. And then if you do, then you have to go in. So if you had a licensed teacher at the top of the scale and you brought in someone lower, then that's a justification. You're not changing FTE, you're not changing services to students. If you have a one-on-one student, say that you had to transport out of district, that you had specific costs that student moved, then that's a justification that allows you to decrease your budget, but otherwise you have to maintain at a certain level.
So we're going to budget reductions if that ever comes through.
Mhm.
Sped is really the last dollar that you can touch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it kind of fits you in a box.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, especially with the high sped rate. that we have.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And is that budget pre-planned based on how many students are being served by the SPED department? Or is it, does that matter as far as how many are actually getting those services? Or is there just kind of like an umbrella piece that
Like a
kind of,
fixed cost.
just an umbrella amount that you guys budget for
We budget based on our personnel.
Yeah,
based on the
Based on
personnel?
that, and then looking at what students in the need.
Yeah.
You know, what assistants are gonna be able to cover and, you know, cover the students that we have.
So if the student number down, so if we get more students that are not needing SPED services, then that essentially, the cost will essentially go down.
It's really hard to justify without a one-on-one.
Because you have to, okay, that makes sense. Okay,
But our extra services are fixed costs, right? So we know that the psychologists and like, those are contracted services, DSD, we know it's gonna cost this much money, no matter what sped kids we have in it, right?
well,
It
some,
doesn't.
it changes.
It's an estimate.
It's an estimate and it changes based on kids, like if we,
Mhm.
you know, we had some students that were autistic, for instance, and we had 10 of them versus one of them, then we wouldn't need the autistic, you know, specialist as much time. So it's an estimate based on our student body and the number of kids that we have that are on an IEP that need the specialist. So sped's really complicated. The maintenance of effort deal, I don't even totally completely understand it. It's a nightmare because once you spend the money, you have to have very strict in the box reasons to reduce money spent on special ed. And that's why we're so careful about if we add an aid or if we add a service, we know that it's almost impossible to pull that back if we have to.
And is that IEP kids only or IEP and 504?
Not 504.
Just IEP?
I mean, 504 falls under a different deal. I mean, it's an accommodation plan. I mean, kids don't have an individual education plan because they're on 504. They have a plan, but it's an accommodation plan that's done and managed straight out from our gen ed staff.
That makes sense.
And honestly, we've talked about this, that's not a number, that's not anywhere we're gonna see go down. It's only going to go up.
Go up. That's right.
Yeah. that makes
And God forbid if we ever get a high cost disability kid that we have to put on a bus and send them to Eagle Point because we don't have a program. High cost disability reimbursement doesn't even come close to covering the cost of most of those kinds of students. And so it's really, yeah, special ed is a time bomb. It's really difficult to navigate financially as a district, especially because we're remote. So if we have a situation where we have to transport a kid, we're talking big money.
So because, that brings another question. So we're rural, we're an hour from town, and we have other particular issues that are causing the state to maybe look at our because of the state testing and all that stuff. So if we lose money because of the numbers, does that can impact what we can offer for those kids that potentially could come in? Like, you know, we're just.
Potentially, sped kids get double weighted. So if there's a student that's on an IEP, they're double weighted. It's not worth 10,000. That student's worth 20,000 technically.
Okay.
But high cost disability is capped at 30 per student. And
An extra 10 grand.
right. And if you have a high cost disability kid that's got to drive 2 hours a day with staffing and everything else, you're looking, some of those services are 100 grand.
Yeah.
For a single kid. And so it can get really scary. So to answer your question directly, Natalie, I think it depends. Each scenario is different. In general, the more sped kids you have, the more costs you have going out. Even with double weighting, I don't think it covers the cost of special needs students. In general, not all kids. And one of the things that I'm really proud about our school district is we have an inclusion program. So a lot of the services that some other districts have with pull-out programs, they're way more expensive. We put kids in the classroom where they're hopefully getting, high quality instruction from their gen ed teachers with the help of specially designed instruction with specialties with the sped staff. So it's a different philosophy. Everybody's kind of moving that way, but there's a lot of bigger districts that haven't. And smaller districts, it's a little easier to implement, which costs a little less money.
Is the maintenance of effort applied to personnel or just dollars? Because I know like aides move around. If you lose an aide, okay, this aide might not just be a classroom aide, they might be a Title, I'm assuming it's Title I, is that
Like
sped?
Title I in general.
No, Title I's not
Like, it
sped.
doesn't count in. So it's the same way. You've got to be able to justify you're not reducing services.
Okay. And that's
So you could
every
bring
county?
someone in or you could reassign. Reassignment's even kind of questionable. I mean, because
It's not a full
if
thing.
someone actually left and you replace them with a lower cost, then you have that difference that, is justified with personnel. But you've got to maintain the same amount of level service.
It's tough.
It's a fascinating place and I'm glad we have you for it. For sure, for sure.
It's tough.
That's, any questions on the financials? I had a question earlier, I emailed shared route, which is Cisco, food, which is non-food. I didn't know if that was reimbursable food or outside food, but it truly is just non-food items. And so I'm saying, some clarification, thank you. Mr. Williams, you got anything?
Nope, I'm good.
Nice. Well, thank you. And now we'll go to the informational personnel report. Looks like we have some coaches.
Yeah, John Gallo, we hired as our high school wrestling coach, and we also hired a substitute. And she's willing to do some different things in Teresa Storts. And so, excited to have both of them on. That's all that we have in the informational personnel report tonight.
Thanks, Grandma.
Yeah.
So cute. I love it. Going back to the financial, I do have an additional question on the budget committee. Who are current budget members? Do you have those?
Christy Stocker, Brian. Lindsay.
And these are all continued. Their terms are still
Lindsay
good.
continue. And Kim Newcomb. The three. Continue.
And then do we have that committee set up to with a member, a community member on it, or is that not?
Well, we were gonna probably adopt the policy first, before the advisory. For once appointed for the budget committee, since it's in your policy.
No, absolutely, but is the
Or-
committee, the equity committee up and running,
Yeah, it's part of leadership. It's a leadership group.
but we have a community member on it?
No,
Not yet, okay.
We don't.
Okay.
I mean, we do, but they're serving in a different capacity on the as a staff member that are community members. So,
Yeah.
but it would be nice if we had a outside community member.
And then we only have one other vacant position. for the
Right.
budget committee.
Until the advisory, and then we'll push the one.
Okay, very good. Thank you. 4.1, resolution.
Just
Just skip 3.6.
Yeah, 3.6 comprehensive plan report. Just kind of want to keep you abreast of the first meeting that we had, which we're hoping our two board appointees can come to the next one in January. It was awesome. It was awesome. I enjoyed the camaraderie, enjoyed the conversations, the direction. People are excited about the direction of the district, and it was apparent that came out in the meeting. We tackled, knowing that there's going to be 5 meetings this year, we tackled the first step of empowering, and we created 3 areas under empowering. One was academic success, the second one was student opportunities, and the third one was student-centered campus life. We took a look at the metrics, different metrics that we could measure using the idea that there needs to be multiple measures. And then we also looked at what determining what baselines there were for the things that we're evaluating. And so what I thought I would do is, under academic success, I thought I'd read the 4 goals that the committee came up with for the 25-27 goals. During the 25-27 biennium, 100% of students in grades 3, 5, and 8 will demonstrate growth by 4% annually in both ELA and math, as illustrated by the beginning of the year to the end of the year STAR results, which is Renaissance. Goal number 2, during the 25-27 biennium, 100% of students in grades 3, 5, and 8 will demonstrate growth by previous year data in all 3 classes of 3, 5, and 8 grades. 4% in both ELA and math as reported by the end of the year OSAS results, which is the state test. From one year to the next. The third goal, during the 25-27 biennium, 90% of all students in grades 9-12 will be on track with credit acquisition to graduate within each class's 4-year cohort. So that number at 90%. And then the fourth goal was, during the 25-27 biennium, 4-year graduation cohorts will improve by 5% annually to 80% graduation rate prior to the 27-29 biennium of 90%. Those are pretty big, lofty numbers in a short amount of time. those percentages were bigger than the longitudinal growth goal target percentages that the state was helping us with. The committee really felt like there was enough room to grow that much that quickly. And so those are the goals for academic success. We had two goals under student opportunity, and we looked at some advisory scorecards and looking at baseline data around students and choosing college and career readiness within the advisory scorecards that we're working on developing. The first goal during the 25-27 biennium, student interest and experiences that mirror co-curricular participation will be measured by 85% of all students in grades K-12 participating in at least one co-curricular experience each calendar year. That's 85% of every kid participating in grades K-12 in something co-curricular during the course of the year, whether it's the elementary, jogathon or carnival or Missoula Children's Theater or high school basketball. We know that students that are connected to co-curricular and extracurricular things, ag and FFA and, the bazaar that was on Saturday at the community center selling things that kids made, matter. And so, because it makes connections. And then the second goal is during the 25-27 biennium, CTE class enrollment and participation in grades 6-12 will be measured by 90% of all students participating in at least one CTE class each calendar year. So 9 out of 10 students participating in CTE every grade level was a goal that came out of that conversation. And then the third one was student-centered campus life. And we came up with 3 goals there. Some of the metrics that came out of that were minutes of ASB meetings and customer service surveys that we would send out a survey for customer service. And so these were the 3 goals. During the 25-27 biennium, we'll increase the average customer service satisfaction score for students and patrons when problem solving collaboratively as measured by the end of the year customer service survey. A big thing for me as a leader here is that we have like first chance remedy to problems, like handling things at the lowest level possible whenever possible. So if a parent calls the office and they need something, can the person that answers the phone handle it so the parent walks away feeling like they've been served and they got their questions asked? A lot of times if the secretary can't handle it, then it goes to maybe it's a campus monitor or a special projects director, or it has to come to admin. And a lot of times if it takes 2 or 3 steps to get there, people become frustrated. And so trying to find and guide people in the right direction to handle things at the lowest level possible is the heart of that goal. The second goal is during the 25-27 biennium, ASB expectations that include leadership development, elections, a constitution review, and student-led events that are linked to school traditions will be calendarized and communicated to include timelines for all school community stakeholders. Creating all of the events that go on this campus in a calendarized way that's communicated to our community is a huge goal and something that needs to happen that comes out of our high school and our middle school especially, but not just them, but also our elementary. And then the third goal during the 25-27 biennium, pre-storative practices that model positive school and student culture that are linked to clear expectations will be taught to students and staff with consistency as illustrated in the end of the year customer service survey. So that we're not reactive to things that we have problems, but we are not restorative, we're pre-storative. We really work on the front end of problem solving in a way that people walk away feeling like, hey, you know what? People are trying to problem solve and figure this out, regardless of what the issue may be. So that's kind of it. So that's the first meeting. It was an hour in length. We didn't run over. I was like drill sergeant, and we got through it. And the next one in January will be, I think it's the third Tuesday. I don't know, I'll send out, I can't remember what date it is, but this next one will be on enriching. The Prospect School District, will remain, Prospect School District will remain involved in improved facilities. So it's about facilities and maintenance of effort around money and creating plans around facilities, inclusive and accessible spaces, source of pride in the community, safe and healthy environments, and some of the things that Regina's been working on with the EOP and the walk around safety environment will be pulled into that conversation. Incentive teaching, learning, and working environment that improves the student experience. Is it a place where people want to be? And if not, then there probably should be a goal around that. And how do we fix it? So this is an awesome process. I'm super stoked about it. I appreciate the work that people have put into this. And there's multiple voices involved here. And I think when we're done, we're gonna really have a great product that comes out of it that's usable.
Okay, so you'll text the date so we can, is it gonna be here?
Yep. Yeah, it'll be here. Well, it'll be held in the Student Success Center.
Okay, yeah, just text the date so I can request that day off. So real quick question. So we discussed and talking about the report card situation with state testing
Yeah.
numbers. But part of the goal is to improve those numbers. So what is the plan then to encourage parents to stop opting their kids out and then also encourage the student to take the test seriously and not Christmas tree it?
Yeah, there's some of that too, right? It boils down to, in my opinion, what can we control and what can we not control? And where do we focus our energy? And I think there needs to be some energy focused on trying to share with parents the value of taking a high stakes test. It's a single measure that tells you something about your kid, right? And it's something that a student walking away from it should tell them about something. We've not done a very good job of that. And I don't think in general any of the school districts in the state really have done a good job of that, explaining the value of it. They just see it as, well, my kid doesn't want to do it. And, I remember when Washington State put in the WASL, the Washington High Stakes Test. They did the WASL on a Friday, gave the Monday off of school. Many districts said, if you come in on Friday and you take the WASL, which is 6 hours of testing, a 2-hour ELA test, 2-hour math test, 2-hour science test, 6 hours. And then you get to take Monday off, and everything was about the WASL. It was educating parents about eating a good breakfast that morning because it was WASL testing day, taking the test seriously, there was high stakes behind it that came from parents and communities and the politics behind it. The state really has not stepped up here in Oregon and said, there's value in this, and we're gonna make it unlawful for you to opt out. If you're a public school student, you're gonna take the test. And they haven't done that. And in regards to where we're at as a state, I think we see what has happened in part, mostly because of that. But also the other side of it is how much are we going to educate and try to beat our head against the wall with somebody that's already made up their mind that there's no value in it. So it's what can we control versus what we can. I'd like to really focus on the things we can control. I think, I had a conversation with Ray today, and after I hung up with the phone with him, I kind of made me want to spit because he brought up a good point. And this point is this, and he pushed back on this with me. Well, okay, Dave, but if there's 50 or 60% of your students that aren't meeting the grade and they're not doing well, and you're testing them and they're not doing well, what are you doing to fix it? With those 50 or 60%. And he's got a valid point. Yeah, you're right. Those kids are failing that one-time snapshot idea or test to demonstrate what they know or what they can do. So focusing on the right things, I think, getting all of our arrows going the right direction, doing all these things systematically. We have, for the first time in, I don't even know, maybe ever in this school district, have high-level state-approved curriculum in science, math, and ELA that's within 7 years or newer. And we're working on social studies. We have spent a ton of money in improving our curriculum. And so it starts with those kinds of things. It also starts with the retention of staff. This was a bloodbath when 3 years ago, we were losing 35–40% of our teaching staff every year. And that has stopped. We've created consistency with it. Or how about this one? We have a new 3-year contract that we negotiated 8 professional development days, where prior to that new 3-year contract, we only had 2 PD days. You couldn't do anything with your staff here. Nobody worked. We never worked. On Fridays, we had Fridays off, and now we work 1 Friday a month where we're working on professional development. And it's huge because of some of the things that now we're able to do because we have some time to work on teaching and learning. Whereas in the past, we just didn't have those things. We didn't have curriculum. We had massive turnover. We didn't have professional development. I mean, that's 3 strikes and out. That's a recipe for complete disaster in every school district that I've ever been part of. And so to pull those things together and say, we've done that in 3 years, now we have a culture of teaching and learning, and we have a structure that can help support it. As kids come through the system, it's going to get better and better and better. And that's where we're at. So we're focusing on trying to focus on the right things.
I just listening to him, I did have one thing to build on
Yeah.
what he said, that talking about the professional development, we're being really targeted, and the people we're really bringing in from the ESD know how to navigate the ODE's resources and are saying, here are the tools that are out there. We're having those conversations as a staff about, okay, 3rd grade is where they're focusing for ELA. Well, here is where they break down the question, give you examples and suggestions on how to teach that piece. Like, nobody wants to teach to the test, but if that's how we're being measured, at least our students should be, we should normalize testing. And so that it's not, there's no temptation to Christmas tree it because this is something we do all the time and it looks really familiar. And the teachers know exactly what's being asked and how to set kids up for success. And so that's upcoming professional development that we're starting this year and continuing up from there.
And I don't do this too often, but I'm gonna say this, and this is the truth. Been a lot of places, seen a lot of different things. And what we are doing with Greg leading the secondary and me leading the elementary, we know what good instruction looks like. We know what assessment looks like. The thing that this place is missing is meaningful work and purpose. And we have to create meaningful work for kids that engages them. If we can't do that, then why are we doing what we're doing? We're just going to slide another worksheet in front of them and say, do this busy work. And that's crap. That's not teaching. That's not learning. Worksheets don't grow dendrites. There has to be fluency that connects the content to learning to life. And the meaningful work piece of it is big. And that's what we're focused on. And you have to have time to roll that. And like Regina said, we have some great specialty folks that are coming in that are helping us with it. And so anyhow, yeah.
What's a negative side of a bad report card? Besides, so this goes back into, is the report card just a feeling? Like, it's just a feeling, grade prospects of feeling. I don't think many people care about the report card. Into what
I do. I care about it.
But
We are, I don't know the exact number. We're either 46 or 48th in the nation as far as the education of our kids. And then you look at that and you look at where we set in the state grading, and we're at 10% success for 3rd grade reading. And we're like, I don't remember, 40% or less in 8th grade mathematics. We're out. What are we doing? If we're not teaching our kids to get them above the 48th state in the union as far as education. We're not succeeding. We're not doing a job that we should be doing. Our kids are suffering, and we're not. Dave's got good plans, great plans. They sound really good, but the plans are only going to be as good as the success they create. And I'm not seeing that major come on from the kids if we're setting that low in a state that's that low to begin with. And again, the one-time grade, the one-time test, opting out of the test, those are all good excuses as to why it's that level. But I've sat in those classrooms and I've seen those kids level, and they aren't good.
Absolutely. That's my point. You've seen it when you tutored in the classrooms, right? But like what I see is you spend a week and a half or 2 weeks taking practice tests to show kids how to take the state test and what rules go into state tests and how you have to be quiet. Like the coaching that goes into taking this one snapshot, I get why there's test fatigue to it. Is there better assessments that we can do locally that actually show a global where we're actually at versus a one-time assessment that people are half in on? And using just that assessment as our North Star, I don't think sets good context of where the school's at.
I tend to agree because I think anytime that we put our finger on a single button and say this is the key to success, I think it's disingenuous and not, I'm not a fair guy, so I don't believe in fairness, but it's not fair because I don't think it's an accurate depiction of what our kids can do. And to double down on what you said, Ray, I agree with you. Some of the abilities of a lot of students that are in class struggle, but we have a lot of students that are highly capable also. And so having a full picture of student success to me is really important. I care about the report card because the report card is something that either gives you a black eye politically, or it gives you, a pat on the back of the effort that you put behind all of the work and all of the money and all of this effort as a school board to support what we're doing. That's important to me. But that's why I'm a proponent of multiple measures, because I think it needs to change. And when it does, and like I said in my email, there becomes a point where change in education, the moving the needle in education takes time and it takes patience. And some of the things that we are seeing through the system right now, I mean, we have an early literacy high dosage tutoring program that we're exiting kids left and right with in grades K-12 because they're meeting standards and have grown so much that they've met benchmark, they've gotten to benchmark, and they were way below benchmark because of that program. But guess what? Those kids don't show on the state report card on what they can do in their reading level because there's no multiple measure that measures it. If we use a local assessment with STAR, it gives us a bigger picture of it. But unfortunately, that's not a public document that goes out to everybody. And so, there's some highlights. I mean, to answer your question directly, we're a TSI, we're targeted school and needs improvement. There's a plan put in that. They threw $33,000 at us, said, create a plan around this $33,000 to help with improvement. We spent the money and we've got some things that we're drumming up to try to improve things. But the reality is we have all the parts put in place. Now it's a matter of creating the rigor and the consistency over time to get our kids there. And I would never blame parents for any part of this. Kids come to us from all walks of ages, all walks, backgrounds, wherever. But there are different communities that value this process of education from one community to the next. And we struggle with kindergarten readiness. So how do we fix that? Well, we have a preschool. Well, our preschool has got 4 kids in it. We don't have enough numbers of the kids that become kindergartners here. We can't control that. So it goes back to what are we able to control versus not control? And we're focusing our energy on the things that we can control right here and out in front of us the best that we can. And that's, honestly, that's how I can go home and lay my head on the pillow, thinking that we're a multi-million-dollar agency serving kids the best that we can. And sometimes that doesn't show on a state report card.
I want to comment and move on. I think as a board and as a community, I feel like we need to be more focused on what Dave's talking about versus the report card. The report card is super important. However, it is a snapshot of what the state wants to address with the school. And until the state makes a change on how they're measuring schools to be quite honest, the state testing is stupid. But until they make a change, we as a board need to be more interested in what our admin is doing with our students on a daily, because that's not going to reflect on the report card. And I don't really care about the percentage on the report card today, because as long as I see that and hear what the student success team is doing and what what admin's doing with like the prospect props and stuff like that, and what we're doing with the grant money, and then with Janet's amazing tracking of all the things that she does, the attendance, the grades, all those things, she can report on that on a regular basis. If we can see that, then I feel like for me personally, I'm going to be at peace knowing that our school is going the right direction. Now, the state may not, because that's their problem and they have to look at the other things, but until they make a change and, like you said, measure the things that are truly important, which is not necessarily state testing, we can't control that piece. So I think what you're doing and what Janet's doing and what Regina's doing and doing all these things and making all these committees and showing us, you're actually showing us that the students are doing better in certain metrics. Like you said last time, the attendance has already gotten better from last year. That's a huge, huge plus. We have been fighting attendance since when I worked here 2 years ago. So I think it's just really important that we continue to take a look at those on a monthly basis as a board and just see that our school is progressing in those areas.
Well, and I go a step further. Oregon doesn't care about education, because if they did, if we're a targeted school, instead of coming through, hey, here's 33,000, go fix the problem that you think that you identified, they'd be here every day. This is your problem, help us fix it, right? So the state doesn't care. What I care about is I want people in Medford to be like, man, Prospect's got it going on.
Yeah.
Like they're putting out high quality kids, whether it's an academic track or a CTE track or some version of that. I think the report card is purely political. And if you're going to take it political, then the good and the bad also becomes political. Sure, it doesn't matter at that point, and I don't think it's a good snapshot of what we're actually doing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my overall.
And how does that spread? I mean, when we spread wildfire, when there's a fire, there are sparks that fly way out in front of it and they spot, and the fire continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger with spotting. And, sometimes a wildfire will spot a mile out in front of it, of where the fire's at. And the Prospect Props, the best way to spread fire about a school district that's working is by communicating with your parents and telling your parents what's going on here. And that's what we're doing with Prospect Props in an attempt to try to create that wildfire. But, not poo-pooing anything around the report card. There's a lot of work to be done. We have met the state longitudinal growth targets or exceeded every single one of them. And I'd be hard pressed to believe that has happened prior to the last 3 years. So we're heading the right direction. We're going to get there. And I firmly believe that what we're doing academically is making a difference in the lives of kids. Today we had, I don't want to go too far, but I got to share this with you. I met with the STEAM folks from the ESD today, and we were talking about how do we support teachers and how do we support STEAM education in the classroom and lab-based stuff. And we had two people that don't know our school that was there. And Carla Clark and I were having a conversation about, we have 4 programs that we're trying to get programs to study through. We have one that's fully vetted, but we're working on 3 more, and some of the things that we're doing around engagement and understanding that engagement and meaningful work that is purposeful happens in a lab-based setting more effectively than it does by sliding a worksheet in front of a kid in a traditional environment that's just rote nonsense. to learning.
Right.
And by the time we were done talking, we had about 3 or 4 ideas of things that we could partner on that would take what we're doing, and they're like, we've never been in a place like this. I can't believe you're thinking like this. Because it was exciting to them to hear some of the things that we're working on and how they could help come in behind us and support it even further. Because we know that if kids aren't engaged, they're not gonna wanna come to school. They're gonna have a negative attitude, they hate school. I mean, one of the reasons why students come to school in elementary school is because they love school. And at some point, they get turned off and they don't like school. So by the time they get in high school and they start making choices of their own, they're like, I'm out. This sucks. I don't see the purpose of it. I don't see the meaningfulness that's behind it. I'm out. And so we've got to create a K-12 system that creates meaningful work and purpose. And if we can do that, engagement will happen K-12. And that's our goal. Regardless of what is on the report card at this point.
No.
Well, the key for me was something you mentioned earlier, and I know we do it. We take the kids on the early days of school and we test them. And then at the end of the school year, we test them again, maybe even with the same test, and see what the difference is between day 1 and day 140, and see the progress has been made. There's a key.
And we're testing 3 times now. 3 times.
Well, 3 times even. That's great. And
So-
that's going to be the key. To me, it doesn't matter where we sit in the report card, other than it's an evaluation of something's not right, is all. But if they go in day 1 and they have a value of 10, I'm just picking numbers, and then they go in the middle of the year and they got a value of 15. They go at the end of the year and they got a value of 20. Then I see progress being made. That's the key. Are we getting that progress? Or are they going in at 10, middle 10, and 10, and we're not getting anywhere?
So we're gonna show that to you at the end of the year.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we'll find that out next week with our progress monitoring tool. Everybody will have done their second round. So
All right.
And I think that's,
I'll share that with you throughout the year.
I think that's good information to have, because we're only testing 3, 5, and 8. And there's a disconnect at 3rd grade. Is it kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, or 3rd? And the same with 5th, is disconnect in 3, 5. So if you're testing, like Grace talked about, you guys have mentioned, all the way through, then we say, okay, we're having a problem in 2nd grade, we're having a problem in 6th grade, and whatever the next one is, right?
Right.
So then we could have target engagement at that level, because whether it's PD, teachers, kids getting into that, like we need to see kids coming in the door and how kids are leaving the door in that grade
Yep.
to actually have that full 3rd.
And it's really powerful that we're using the same tool K-12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah, because then the control's the same all the way through, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, lots of information. Thank you. I think comprehensive plan will lead a lot into that, and it'll be interesting to see the outcome of it. So, yeah. Anything else on the comprehensive plan? About the comprehensive plan?
Uh,
1.1, the wrestling facility.
We had a few bucks show up. We still have some, we haven't done anything on it until we get a pool of money. So it's at a standstill at this point, and I anticipate it'll be a longer project than what we had hoped for as far as fundraising is concerned.
Thank you. And then second reading of policies. I did go through, and I think on policy IKF, page 509, there's a bracket for essential skills. I think just didn't get deleted. All the policies look fine to me. There's just a couple of phantom brackets in it.
What? What?
And essential skills, yeah, 5.9, page 5.9, essential skills. There's a bracket right before the 16. Second bracket got deleted, just not the first one at the heading.
Oh,
Right, so just little things like that, when we do the finalize, just make sure to double check on those. There's a couple, I just don't remember what the other ones are. But other than that, the substance looks appropriate to where we want it, so Thank you for that. Is there any questions or any edits for 4.2? And if not, I believe we need a motion to accept the second reading.
So moved.
And the second reading, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second for the second reading is 4.2, 4.2.1 through 4.2.6. Any questions or debate on them? No, we'll start with Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
I vote yes as well, and Mr. Rhodes.
Yes.
5.1, they are not here, so we'll hold that until another meeting when they can report. Sounds like they all went and they all came back, so.
Yeah, everybody's safe.
Okay, we can't lose anybody in the end. That's fantastic. For 5.2, first reading of IKFAR, and it looks like there's some kind of written suggestions and updates in them.
That was just the typo that was caught. On wording.
I'm trying to get that. So I looked at on page, the second page, it has a circle 8, but it says 10 on the other page. Do you know what that's for?
That's because 10 on this page should read the same as 8 on this page.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
He said,
Okay,
so that's where the error was. It wasn't reading the same as it did on this page.
Yeah.
So it just didn't get edited on this page kind of thing.
So is on this page for the department, is that supposed to be a 10 or an 11?
So that's 11.
Where's 10?
10 is this, number 8 is supposed to come over here.
Oh, I see, it's just copy and
Gotcha,
paste,
okay.
or cut and paste.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm tracking. Okay, and then 11, so adding 8 from the previous page to 10 on this second page, the third page.
Yes.
And then 11 will be 5 credits of electives and 3 credits of electives, 27, 28.
Correct.
Okay. Anybody have any issues or questions on those changes? Okay, sounds good. So then we'll see the edits on next month's for second reading.
Correct.
And then 5.3, the OSBA special election. I don't know if we have the ballot in here, but we have one.
Yeah, and there was no information, like I couldn't find any, like I gave you guys the information before, I couldn't find any.
Do we have anybody running? It's to fill Dawn's position, right, on this?
Yeah, and
Because she's been out of the president or something.
And it's just one person.
It's just one person.
So it's just to vote, what did you say? If they're gonna vote or not?
What's his name?
Yeah.
What's his name? It's the Grants Pass dude.
Not Sable?
Nathan Sable.
I thought we just.
No,
voted for
this
him
is,
for
no, this is
LPC.
different, this is different.
That was the LPC.
Oh, this is, oh yeah, this is OSBA.
Yeah, I don't know who the person is to make a nomination.
It's-
That tells you how much I pay attention.
Have to make it out.
No, we could just vote to
Same.
do nothing, too, so.
Yeah. I motion we do that.
Okay, so we have a motion to do nothing, to no votes in 5.3.
That's
Is there a
exactly
second?
what I'm gonna write.
Is there a second to this? Okay, so. Apparently, Rose, a motion to abstain from voting for the OSBA special election. Any questions or debates? Okay, hearing none, then I will start with yes, vote to do nothing. Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Rose, Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, and then 5.4, the set pilot program. Mr. Fillmore.
Yeah, in your packet, you'll see there's a pilot for the school-based said services, which is a grant that it's a multi-use amount of money that that we partnered with the ESD on. If you look at the second page, page 2, it talks about the funding of things. They applied for a grant with Care Oregon grant rollover funds. There was a grant that the ESD had, and they reallocated 127,000 on that. They also applied with Jackson Care Connect for youth and families grant for 25 grand. Jackson Youth Service of Care grant for 15. And then they went to the Youth Development Oregon Reengagement, and they got 150 grand from them, and then Oregon Alcohol and Drug Policy Commission, and they got a grant for 100 grand. And it's a 2-year loop grant that's based on addiction, A&D counseling, tobacco cessation, drug cessation, alcohol cessation. And so when they got all this together, the place that they wanted to run the pilot was here in Prospect. And so I got a phone call from Sandy Stack. She's the head of running this, and then they hired a gal by the name of Shelby Moffett, that Greg and I know. We worked with her in Medford, and she is the manager of this grant. And what it does is it does about 3 or 4 things for us. One, it gives us some resources for students that struggle with drugs and alcohol and tobacco. And we get a halftime counselor out of the deal that focuses on A&D counseling. Now, you might think, well, geez, do we really have that many kids that are, A&D inhibited to where we would need a halftime mental health counselor doing, small groups or doing mental health services? The reality is our other mental health specialist, he's tapped. He has a caseload of over 40 kids right now. And looking at that caseload, there are families and there are kids that are affected by A&D that go beyond use. Maybe it's a family member that struggles with it, or maybe it's a brother or a sister. And so what we can do is we can move our caseload around so that between all of our counseling resources, we can better meet the needs of kids based on what their needs are. And then what can come out of this is some small group intervention around A&D, tobacco cessation. We know that there's an epidemic with our youth with vape pens. And so we can utilize some of these resources with the staff to help us with this problem.
You're missing.
Yeah, vape, Mr. Vape. And then there's another halftime person that helps support with community resources. So let's say there's a family that needs to do an A&D assessment that's specialized. This person can do some of those specialized different assessments and offer what's within Jackson County for support to bring them to Prospect to help with family engagement type thing. So it's a great opportunity for our school district to partner on this. There's quite a bit of money attached to it and some resources. And we just, for the sake of putting it all in here, we went ahead and put the module in here. So it would be awesome if we could have the board approve the sub-program here.
So one question we had in this,
Yeah.
in here, it said something, we have to change our policy on suspensions and whatever designed on this. Do they have what they need the change to be?
We're meeting on it. It's no change. I mean, it's basically, I've already met with Shelby, and, we don't suspend kids for use. We get them into the resources that they need. If that involves suspension because their family's taking their kid somewhere, fine. But the only time we suspend with A&D and tobacco really is if they're supplying. If they're supplying, then if it's bad enough, then we'll be talking expulsion, or could talk expulsion. And so it's this grant is based on getting kids help, not hammering them on the head and saying, well, you have an alcohol problem, so you can't be at school, you're going to be suspended. And then, which ultimately what happens is a lot of times those kids just say, listen, I'm out, I'm done. I don't want to fight this no more. I'm fighting alcoholism. I'm fighting the, systems of the world. And now I got to fight the school too, instead of the school wrapping services around the kid and the family and getting them the support that they need. And focusing on that versus a suspension or, some type of school discipline. There are always natural consequences anytime a kid does something with alcohol, drugs, or is a safety issue. And of course, we have a discipline matrix that covers safety issues around this, and we'll follow it. But it's coordinating effort. They want to coordinate effort around what kind of support systems they have at their fingertips along with us, so that the kid gets the support, and that's the heart of it. It's not changing if we were a real traditional place where they just said, look, if you got caught on campus, like for instance, if a kid got caught on campus with a pocket knife because they were feeding horses in the morning because of where we live, and he put it in his backpack, was he garnering the knife as a weapon? No, he wasn't garnering the knife as a weapon. So should that be an expulsion? Well, in a lot of places, that's an expulsion. In Prospect, that's not an expulsion. That's a conversation with a parent. That's a conversation with the kid. We take the knife from them, and we have a meeting, and we move on from it. It's the same thing with A&D. And we've had some of those situations where kids come, they show up, and they're high, or yeah, we don't want them here if they're high or drunk, so they go home. But coupled with that, there's support system of how we move forward and overcome that, and we don't just kick them to the curb like we would with a pocket knife.
So we're not being asked to modify our policy at all to take away tools that we currently.
No, nor would I support that.
So just to clarify, the services would be offered to the student, that their family would have to opt them in for it as well, and then it could flow into the family for support if needed.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, it's completely inclusive.
Yeah.
And that's the hope, is they're doing a community engagement night in January. They're gonna, they got a whole plan. And the cool thing is yes, it's gonna take a little coordination on our behalf, but they have staff to do all this, and it's free.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no money out of pocket.
No
And
money
those
out of pocket.
staff, you have to coordinate to make sure that they're
Mhm.
doing the things here, because
Yep.
they're already gonna supply the people.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so is there a motion to enter into the grant for the pilot school-based ed services?
So moved.
The motions are a second.
Second.
The motion second to enter into the grant. Any questions or debate? I will start with yes, Mr. Williams.
Yes,
Rose.
Yeah.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
and I'll take another puff.
Grab your heart, put it.
It's hard on you.
Only the good die young, and I'm beginning to doubt how good I am.
So earlier we talked about, and then maybe I just made an error in my notes, but I said we we're gonna add the MOA's 5.6 when it's really 5.5.
5.5.
So with that, I think everybody has a
We're on
copy
the
of the
SIA
MOA.
group.
No, it's you, there is a 5.5
Yeah, the SIA grant.
agreement.
Oh, the grant agreement, yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's on the
5.6 was
agenda.
right.
It's on my agenda.
5.5?
Oh, did it not get on it's on the physical agenda and then.
It's not the board packet.
Yeah.
It's on the-
Should be.
It's on here, 5.5 SIA grant agreement.
Wait, go back to the bottom. It's right in this, it's right.
So it says board packet, so it's not the actual standalone agenda, so
Correct, yeah.
in the board packet.
I posted that one before I
Yeah.
posted the packet.
So I'm tracking on the agenda and I'm just using the package to roll through. That's what I'm doing. Okay, so 5.5, the SIA. We have it, information.
This is a grant agreement with the state that states how much money they're gonna give us for the SIA grant. We have a plan put in place. We have quarterly and end of the year reporting that goes into this. I think the total for 25-27 is $668,769.31.
Is this we need to vote on this or is this just a notification?
I think we have to vote on it.
Yeah. So is there a motion to accept City Board grant agreement for Student Success Act Student Investment Account Grant number 39285?
Motion to accept.
The motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second for SIA. Any questions or debate on it? Okay, not hearing none. We'll start with Mr. Rose.
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
I'm also voting yes. Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Now we're on 5.6. The MOA on the Grow Your Own grant. Mr. Stone, want to go some background?
Yeah, I'll give you some background. So at the time of that we met for the agenda, we didn't know this was gonna happen. And then I got a phone call 2 days afterwards and said, hey, Logan Taylor, one of our classified assistants that has over 90 90 credits in college, qualifies for our Your Grow Your Own program and to tap into the federal grant or the state grant that supports that within the region. And so Aaron Cook from the ESD reached out to me and said, hey, would he be willing to go in January? So immediately I'm like, I'll put my hands together and I'm super stoked about this because this could be a life-changing deal for this young man. He has a young family. And he wants to become a teacher. He's super bright. And in the area of advanced mathematics and special ed, the Grow Your Own money that was put there by the legislature is still there and it's been released by the legislature. So he applied for this a year ago, when I first shared it with him, and then it did nothing. And now the legislature has released the money to the regions for the ESD to manage it. There are only 2 other people in the region that have qualified for this, and they've got enough money to pay for 4. So essentially what this is that he's an assistant. He'll continue to do assistant work with teaching opportunities here and there under a mentored guise of our advanced math teacher. And the grant covers the cost of him going to school full-time at SOU and finishing his bachelor's degree and getting him a math endorsement within 2 years. That's why he had to have 90 some credits. Also pays for travel, also pays him during the summer. So, and they're going to place him on the first column of the teacher salary with the ESD. And so in our collective bargaining agreement, there is no leave of absence language for classified staff, only for certified. So we had to come up with an MOA that gives him a leave of absence because at the end of 2 years when he finishes his degree, there's no guarantee he's going to get a math job. So he still needs to have access to come back and be an assistant here because he's employed with the district. So essentially, this is how it works. School district has a budgeted amount of money that pays his salary for the classified position that he's in. The difference between that and the teacher salary, the ESD pays. And the ESD also pays his benefits. And the ESD also pays him 12 months out of the year so that there's some teeth for him to go to school during the summer and finish his degree. So he's an employee of the ESD. What he will do is he will declare and ask formally to a leave of absence of the district for a year that will be renewable up to 2 years. So that if by chance when he's done with the program, if he wants to come back as a classified staff member under the CBA, he's allowed to do that. And so that's what this is about. It's about creating the framework so that he could take a leave of absence and tackle this opportunity that's life-changing, that's incredible. Going to be, in the neighborhood of $45,000 to $50,000 a year benefit for him to get his degree and have this grant pay for it. So
If it's a 2-year program, how come the MOA is only good for a year and a half? Like I next bargaining.
It'll need to be renewed. Yep. And the other thing is the bargaining council met, was it Monday? Today is Tuesday. No, it was
was last night.
was
Yeah.
last night.
Yeah.
So they approved it last night, and then Janet was sick today,
That's why you have a picture.
so that's why I have a picture of it. But I wanted to put this in front of you now, because if you don't approve it, then he can't enroll in the program in January, which is when the ESD wants him to start. And so we don't have another board meeting during that time, so, or prior to that time.
But is it something that in 27 we'll have to extend the MOA, or is it a plan to put it into the contract?
But right now,
I don't know.
extend the MOA at this point, probably. Well, that's a discussion that will happen down the line, but as we open the contract, this is probably something that needs to go in the contract.
I don't know, I don't remember when the contract expires.
That's 3 years, so 2027.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And who knows? I mean, he may be close to done in a year and a half versus 2 years, depending on what kind of load he takes and how they set it up for him.
Very cool. Okay, any other questions? Is there a motion to accept the MOA?
I move to approve the MOA.
There's a motion, is there a second? Second. Saying that a question for debate. Then we'll start with Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Rose?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
No, I'm also a yes. All right, that is wraps of business coming up. The Christmas programs on December 11th. Set FFA Saturday program on the 18th, Christmas break 22nd through January 4th, and the next board meeting. January 13th, is that also the day is your plan, the 13th as well?
I don't remember.
I'm trying to find it in the,
It's not on the
January.
So that comes up as well, so at 7:48, we'll adjourn.
Okay. Hey, one thing, now that we're off, one thing that I want to share with you, just in case the board wants to be involved in this. I sent an email out. We are adopting, our staff is adopting.
Real quick,
Oh,
it's still recording as long as Ray's on.
oh,
So you have
That's
to end this if you don't want it recorded and posted to the
Well,
website.
goodbye, Ray, because then you'll make a form anyway, so he'll put you in later.
I'll talk,
Okay, fine.
I'll call you later.
Okay.
I want to get in your pocketbook.
See you guys later. Hey, thanks.
Thanks, Ray.
Have a good night, Ray.
Okay, so now we're not recording, right?
Once he ends it.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't.
No,
No,
it's